ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council, has some new tricks up its sleeves. The conservative think tank, funded in part by the Koch brothers, has spent years trying to undermine the Environmental Protection Agency and any policies that seek to protect our environment or our planet from the harmful effects of pollution and global warming. But now ALEC is stepping up its fight against the EPA and clean energy policies with methods that, according to the Center for Media and Democracy, are unlike anything that group has ever done before. So what democracy-destroying methods is ALEC resorting to now? And what does this shift in tactics say about ALEC's influence and power going forward? Joining me now for more on this is Brendan Fischer, General Counsel at ALEC Exposed and the Center for Media and Democracy. Brendan, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Great to have you. So, what's the new shtick here? What is it that is new and novel that ALEC is doing?
Sure. So ALEC has been around for 40 years. Their MO is to create these model bills drafted by corporations, voted on by lobbyists and legislators that state legislators bring back and introduce in their own name on the state level. They also push resolutions to be passed on the state level, urging Congress to do something, like urging Congress to not let the EPA regulate greenhouse gases. Their latest tactic is to organize state attorney generals to sue the federal government, to sue the EPA. Earlier this year, according to documents that were obtained by our research director, Nick Sergey, ALEC organized a conference call with state legislators, including Nebraska's Attorney General John Bruning, in talking about ways to organize state attorney generals to basically advance the agenda of ALEC corporations like Peabody Energy, like Koch Industries, like American Electric Power. Through this conference call, what ALEC was basically doing is making legislators into lobbyists for these coal and energy companies, and urging state attorney generals to foot the legal bill for these polluter corporations.
Oh, they're turning the legislators into lobbyists, and they're turning the attorneys general into litigators.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. So John Bruning did file suit against EPA rules that were promulgated.
So he did what they wanted.
He did what they wanted. He's sort of at the forefront of
Nebraska.
The Attorney General of Nebraska.
The very first of the useful idiots to jump into it.
Well, he's been connected to the coal and energy interests for a while. He's gotten hundreds of thousands of dollars of campaign contributions from these groups, from these corporations.
He's supposed to be the chief law enforcement officer of the state.
Yeah. Well, he ran for Senate last year. He's currently running, or in 2012, he ran for Senate. He had a fundraiser held by Murray Coal, CEO. At that fundraiser, he raised $100,000 from coal interests and from utility interests. He also has been endorsed by Citizens United, the group that brought the famous Supreme Court decision. Right. And now he's the first Attorney General to file suit against these new EPA rules that would regulate, or these proposed EPA rules that would regulate emissions from coal-powered fire plants. And of course, that's not something the coal companies or the utility companies are big fans of.
What's the strategy with regard to the lawsuits? Is it tie the EPA up in court and thus prevent implementation? Is it to actually overturn their ability to execute? I mean, do they actually think there's a chance of winning? Or is it just some kind of PR stunt? I mean, what's going on here?
Yeah, I'd say a little bit of both, and there are probably going to be multiple lawsuits. So he jumped the gun a little bit. He filed suit before the rule has taken effect, before these new standards for coal-powered fire plants have taken effect. So there's really no injury.
We don't even know what the standards are yet.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So he would have no standing.
That's exactly right. He probably does not have standing. There's no alleged injury that he can bring a suit on behalf of people who have been injured. So it may fail on procedural grounds, but there will be additional lawsuits filed in the near future. And they are trying to get as many states on board as possible to create the appearance of broad opposition to these rules.
Right. And in an earlier segment tonight, we were talking about how the EPA is just finally getting around to checking out what's going on in West Virginia. I mean, this is an agency that has been starved of funding over the last 2 decades or so by Republican Congresses. Could it be that this "let's sue the EPA" thing is another part of the let's kill the EPA? Let's you know, I mean, it costs a lot of money to defend lawsuits.
Yeah,
even if you're a government agency.
Absolutely. And, you know, it really does work both ways because these state attorney generals, they're using taxpayer funds, too. Attorney generals have limited resources. They are charged with enforcing the laws within the state, but they also have a certain amount of discretion about what they're going to prioritize. So if you have an attorney general like John Bruning who's deciding to prioritize this lawsuit against the EPA, that's diverting potential resources away from other law enforcement needs. It's using the state's lawyers to file suit and sue the government basically on behalf of Peabody Energy and Murray Coal and all the companies that would be affected by this rule.
That's absolutely astounding. You were at an ALEC meeting in Missouri this past Thursday. The minute we have left here, any news out of that?
Sure. Well, you know, they did host a trip to a coal-powered fire plant for state legislators. State legislators went to visit a coal-powered fire plant just outside of Kansas City. Legislators once again sat down with corporate lobbyists, and they voted as equals to adopt model bills. I think my favorite presentation was called Regulating Electronic Cigarettes, Jeffersonian style. We know that Enjoy, electronic cigarette manufacturer Enjoy, joined ALEC last year, and lo and behold, there's a session on regulating electronic cigarettes.
Yeah, so you give ALEC enough money, and they basically...
Yeah, exactly. It's
amazing. Brendan, great to have you with us. Keep up the great work.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.